Hello, and welcome to our example that shows SugarCRM and IBM ExperienceOne working together. This particular example will focus in on business-to-business manufacturing. So first of all, let's quickly level set and describe how IBM ExperienceOne and Sugar fit together. IBM ExperienceOne is really very strong at marketing automation. So at the things on the left-hand side of the flow chart in this picture, things like creating demand, running campaigns, and then nurturing those campaigns, nurturing the contacts and leads out of those campaigns, qualifying and scoring them, and then integrated to Sugar, which handles things on the right hand side like distributing and monitoring those opportunities to the salespeople, what you might call sales automation, converting those opportunities into closed and won deals. So things like lead, account, opportunity, contact management, those are all things handled by Sugar from SugarCRM. Together, IBM ExperienceOne and Sugar provide a customer experience that's optimized across marketing, sales, and service, and across digital and human interaction channels. And what I mean by digital and human interaction channels is that IBM ExperienceOne does a great deal around digital marketing, nurturing contacts through digital marketing, and then when those contacts actually talk to a salesperson or maybe talk to a service person in the call center, the latter would be examples of human interaction channels. So the whole point of this is you want that customer experience to be optimized and consistent across all of those steps in the process, marketing, sales, and service, and across digital and human interaction channels. So let's see how that works for a manufacturing company. In this example, we're going to use a fictitious company, Globex Gears. Globex Gears is a manufacturer of custom gears for the automotive industry. So a couple of characteristics about Globex Gears is that they're service oriented. They very much differentiate themselves around customized products and around individual attention and service for every customer and every transaction. So that's their differentiator as opposed to simply selling high volume of the exact same part. They're the opposite end of the spectrum where they have customized parts and they differentiate themselves based on service. And because of that, the whole customer relationship, retention of customers, keeping existing customers coming back for more, upsell and cross-sell, that's critical to their business. Another thing that's very typical of the Globex Gears business is that Globex Gears, a typical sales cycle for Globex Gears involves multiple human touch points. So kind of more complex sales cycles where there's many people involved in an organization. This is typical of B2B where you'll have multiple roles in an organization. In this case, if it's an automotive customer, it might be an engineer plus a legal person and a contracts person and maybe a quality assurance person. So those are all people that in the customer that have to be involved in the sale. Globex is a global company, so that adds a bit of complexity, and in any complex sale, Globex will have multiple partners involved as well, resellers and distributors, maybe suppliers as an example. And the last characteristic of Globex Gears is a, as I already mentioned, has a custom nature to their business. So each of the processes that they go through for a given sale tends to be complex with coordination required and different support processes that have to happen based on which country the sale happens in or based on which partner is involved. So that's a quick view of Globex Gears, the company. Let's meet some of the people from Globex Gears that will be part of our story. So we're going to meet three people. The first is Anna Bauer, who's a marketing manager. She's responsible for Globex marketing, and one of the key elements that she's working on is this initiative to take Globex Gears' presence in automotive markets and expand into utilities. Another person that we'll meet along the way is Chris Oliver, who's a sales specialist for Globex Gears, and he's also been very successful in automotive but wants to expand into utilities. And then last but not least, we have Regina Laszlo, who's a call center agent for Globex Skiers in their global call center. So moving on here, let's meet one additional party before we get into the story, and the party that we're going to meet is a prospective new customer of Globex Gears called Utilities Mechanical Devices Limited, or UMD. So UMD produces, as the name implies, mechanical devices for utilities. So it might be things like motors, generators, gearboxes for, say, electric utilities. And from UMD, the company, one of the individuals that will play a role here in our story is a guy named Daniel Rodriguez, who is a mechanical engineer for UMD. All right, so let's get started into our story. Remember that we started out by saying one of Globex's corporate initiatives that's fallen to Anna from a marketing point of view is to expand into utilities. So the first thing Anna Bauer does is she creates a campaign that targets the utilities industry. She's using, and so the screenshots here are from the IBM Unica campaign tool. IBM campaign lets Anna pull up lists, so she could purchase lists from somebody like a Dun & Bradstreet of utilities contacts. She can also merge that with previous activity. So you can subset those lists based on segmentation or on location or size or any number of criteria. And then the bottom screenshot shows she can actually define and execute a set of marketing campaigns. So it might start out by saying, let's create a website, let's then push out offers from that website, let's have a series of events, and so forth. So Anna's now creating that overall campaign. Now, in addition to buying lists, Anna can also use SugarCRM as one source of lists for the campaign process. And there is a linkage between Sugar and IBM Campaign, where one of the sources IBM Campaign can use is Sugar. So what better place for Anna to start than existing customers of Globex who are automotive customers but who also do work in the utilities industry. That would seem to be very low-hanging fruit to start to get some initial wins in utilities. And Anna can do that by using Campaign, IBM Campaign, to plan the marketing activities, but pulling from her existing lists of customers and prospects in SugarCRM. And as I mentioned, that the IBM Campaign allows Anna to define a multi-touch campaign with multiple tactics and steps. So here's a view of what that looks like, right? After defining the campaign, then there might be a website with a special offer. There might be actual postal mail that goes out to these contacts. There might be email as well that goes out, all with a special offer, maybe directing people to click onto the website. So let's say now, to go back to Daniel and introduce him back into the story, let's say that one of the contacts on the list of utilities customers that Anna purchased was Daniel Rodriguez and his company UMD. So Daniel receives the email, and based on the email he goes and clicks and registers on the Globex Gears website. So he's an example of a contact that was originally on the purchase list and now has taken some initial steps to go and start to explore Globex Gears offerings. So Anna, as a marketer, now can do a number of things, right? It's very important for Anna to help direct that lead nurturing activity, and she can do that through one part of the IBM ExperienceOne portfolio, that's IBM SilverPop. So SilverPop is one of the elements of the IBM ExperienceOne portfolio, and it among other things allows Anna to work through that lead nurturing process. So here Anna can actually go into SilverPop and see that Daniel was on the home page for 2 minutes, he looked on the solutions page for 3 minutes, he requested a demo, he downloaded an application. So she can get a sense of what he's been doing on the website and how long he's spent on each of those. Based on all of that activity, Daniel might have received a number of emails as part of this campaign. So again, Anna can use SilverPop to see the message history. She can see whether he opened the message, whether he clicked on the link, whether he responded to a form in the email and submitted it, whether he played media that was embedded in the image. So again, she can get a sense of how engaged Daniel is through looking at all of the analytics around the emails that were sent to him. And she gets a sense of his program participation. So if he was part of a webinar program, she can get a sense of whether Daniel is engaged in that program. She can see that he was engaged in other programs as well, so that gives her a more holistic view of Daniel overall. And she can add him to a program. Maybe she realizes that Daniel's in a certain segment or maybe a certain country, and she then wants to add him to a marketing program specific to that segment or country. So she can easily add him to that, and as a result, Daniel will then start to get automated marketing around that particular additional program. And lastly, she can drill down into the actions taken by Daniel. She can get a complete history of what Daniel did on the website, and she could drill down and look at all of those actions specifically. So all of that helps give Anna, as a marketing person, a great deal of insight. In fact, Silverpop calls that part of their offering Contact Insight. It gives Anna great insight into Daniel from the marketing point of view. So now let's introduce the part of the process where we need to start getting sales involved, right? As Daniel does more on the web nurturing and the lead nurturing side, at some point it makes sense to actually assign him to a sales rep and have a sales rep start working Daniel. And so one of the things that Silverpop gives you the ability to do is when the Silverpop Contact Insight model reaches a certain lead score, or when Daniel does a certain set of things, when he submits a web form or downloads a file, or any combination of those things, then Silverpop can be configured, as you can see from the screen here, to create an alert to notify Sugar. So what happens then is when Daniel reaches that lead score, then Silverpop would notify Sugar and create a lead or opportunity depending on how the rules are configured, and that will automatically go into the CRM system for the sales rep. So this shows that in a little bit more conceptual detail. So from Silverpop, once the score is reached, then we're automatically creating an alert in the Sugar system. We're automatically creating a lead and assigning that lead to Chris Oliver, the sales rep. So remember early on in this, I talked about linking the marketing and sales elements and linking digital and human interaction channels. One of the things that we've done here is we've linked what's happened on the marketing side through all of the web nurturing, through Silverpop and IBM ExperienceOne, and all of that, which by the way has happened digitally. We're now linking it to Chris, the salesperson, and Chris obviously as a human is going to initiate a set of human interactions with Daniel. So we're linking that marketing and sales part of the processes, and we're linking digital and human interaction channels. So let's say now you're Chris. Put yourself in Chris' shoes. So you've now gotten a lead from marketing, which is great for you, right? It's a qualified lead. We make sure it's not a bad lead by the fact that Daniel's already had to reach a lead score of 850. So it's a highly qualified lead, which is good for Chris. So Chris, and in general, salespeople love those types of leads. He now goes into Sugar to get ready to call on Daniel. So here's an example of what the home screen for Chris looks like when he pulls up Daniel's contact record. So he can see Daniel's contact information on the left-hand side, right? He sees Daniel's name and address, how long he's been a customer. In this case, he's brand new, so he's not been a customer before. Whether he's a VIP customer, what his financial status is, lead score, high. That's something important for Chris to know. And there you go, right in the sugar screen, it indicates that this is a high priority lead as scored using the SilverPop scoring with the the lead score of 850. So something else that's very important to Chris, in addition to kind of the basic context of the customer, something else that's important to Chris in this scenario is Daniel's already had, from Daniel's point of view, a number of interactions with Globex. Those interactions just haven't been with Chris personally, but Daniel doesn't care, right? Daniel's already received an email, he's been on the website, he might have already in fact listened to a webinar, he could have done a whole set of things through the IBM ExperienceOne and SilverPop lead nurturing set of activities. And one of the things that we're trying to avoid is having Chris, the salesperson, be completely disconnected from all those other things that have already happened. It'd be very annoying for Daniel if Daniel got a call from Chris and Chris was unaware that a document had already been sent or an email had already been sent. So here that the opposite is true. Chris, when he looks on his sugar screen, he sees Daniel's complete history of other interactions, including digital marketing interactions that have happened through IBM Campaign or IBM SilverPop. So Chris can see that Daniel registered for an offer on the website. Daniel received an email after registering for the offer. He received a document as well that was mailed to him. So that way, Chris is not disconnected from those previous activities. In fact, quite the reverse. Chris is not only consistent with those other activities, he can reinforce them. He can go to Daniel and say, hey Daniel, I see that you registered for this offer and then you received an email or a document. Can I help you with those? Can I tell you more about them? So in that way, Chris becomes another interaction channel that, instead of being in conflict with digital interaction channels, Chris is consistent with and reinforces and builds on those other interactions, linking the marketing and sales and human and digital interactions. One of the things Chris can see as well in terms of that linkage, Chris can see that there's a current marketing campaign that is in progress targeting utilities customers, and in fact that's how Daniel obviously came in, so it's good for Chris to know that information. And finally, right in the middle of Chris's sugar screen, he sees a recommendation. So IBM has an extensive set of analytics and recommendation offerings and products and capabilities. There's a variety of tools that can be used here, but SPSS can be used from a statistical modeling point of view. IBM has a tool called Interact, which is designed to present real-time recommendations. IBM also has a services offering called Next Best Action. All of those things are designed around presenting the next best action, a real-time recommendation for a given customer. And what we've been able to do with a combination of all of that sophisticated capability, we're able to present that in context in Chris's sugar screen. So what better time to present those recommendations than to Chris the sales rep as he's getting ready to talk to Daniel, or maybe even as he's talking to Daniel live. So that recommendation, comes from the IBM analytics and recommendation tools, but is populated into Chris's sugar screen, which is a great combination that takes the sophisticated capabilities that IBM has, along with the innovative, easy-to-use, mobile-enabled sugar application, and allows Chris to immediately see the recommendation that he should be presenting to Daniel in context. It's a very, very powerful combination. And last but not least, on the bottom right of the screen, we've also integrated Cognos Analytics into Chris's Sugar home screen. So Chris can see some of his actual pipeline analytics that help Chris plan his workload. So for example, he can see that it takes 15 days on average to close a deal, and it takes 3.7 touches to close. That's very relevant for Chris, again in context, because as he's engaging with Daniel, he knows that he'll probably need 15 days and 3.7 touches to close Daniel as a new customer. Something else that's very important in maintaining consistency between these different systems is to make sure the information between them is the same. So we do have capabilities in both Sugar and Silverpop to sync information between Silverpop and Sugar. The same is true as well between Sugar and Unica. So what that enables you to do is the system administrator can define that they want the data in Silverpop to be automatically synced. They can define the rules around when that happens, which type of information. They can actually define the field mapping between the different fields in Silverpop and in Sugar. They can define the scheduling when they want that sync to happen, how often, how to deal with conflicts, and so forth. So all of that is configurable, and ultimately it makes sure that the information that Silverpop and Sugar are working from is the same information and is consistent between the systems. So one other very exciting integration that I want to talk about here is from Chris's Sugar screen for Daniel. Chris can launch Silverpop Contact Insight. So we told you earlier how Anna in marketing can use all of the capabilities of Silverpop to look at Daniel and his history on the website and so forth. That's all embodied in what Silverpop calls Contact Insight. So here, Chris as the sales rep, it's very relevant for him as he's getting ready to call Daniel, or maybe as he's talking to Daniel on the phone, or sitting in front of Daniel and looking on his tablet. Chris can actually launch Silverpop Contact Insight in context from within the Sugar screen. So that way you can see there's a tab there on Sugar that says Contact Insight, and that will actually show the summary of the engagement score for Daniel, the lead status, the call activity, all of the lead nurturing capabilities that I took you through in detail before can all be summarized here from within Sugar for Chris. So again, presenting relevant information in context for Chris. So launching Silverpop Contact Insight in context. And last but not least, let's say Chris has a great phone conversation with Daniel and now he wants to follow up. He can actually within Sugar, he can send an email from Sugar. He might be updating the opportunity record in Sugar. Now he also wants to send a follow-up email. So he can actually invoke Silverpop email send function, but do it from within Sugar. Right? It's all about making Chris more productive and not forcing Chris to go to a whole bunch of different systems. Chris can, right from within the Sugar window, he can actually invoke Silverpop email send function, and he can actually pull up Silverpop email templates and do that all within Sugar. So that makes Chris's life easier and makes him more productive and effective. Chris can, as I mentioned, pull up a Silverpop email template, and he can actually customize that message. He can say, hey Daniel, it was great talking to you just now, and then the rest of the message can be the standard message from the template. But Chris can easily customize that, again, without having to go into a different system, which just makes Chris's life that much harder. So that's an example of Chris the salesperson. Now let's switch gears and look at the call center. So what happens if Daniel needs to call the Globex Gears call center? Well, one of the things that happens is that his call would go to our call center agent, Regina, and Regina luckily is also using Sugar, and one of the first things that happens for Regina is that when Daniel's call comes in, the system recognizes Daniel's phone number through computer telephony integration, CTI integration. That automatically pops up a Sugar screen for Regina that tells him not only that it's Daniel, but gives her all of the information about Daniel. So she sees Daniel's contact information just like Anna did. She sees all of that same information that Anna was looking at as well. And same as Anna, Regina can reinforce IBM ExperienceOne initiated interaction. She can say, hey Daniel, I see that you downloaded the paper, that you received a white paper or an email. can I tell you anything more about that? So once again, Regina is consistent with previous interactions and can also reinforce and build on them. If Daniel had already talked to Anna before calling Regina, Regina would be able to see that as well. Regina would see that as a new entry in the activity stream, and then Regina would be able to say, hey Daniel, I see here that you talked to my colleague Anna just a few days ago. Can I help you with anything else about that conversation? So again, consistent interactions building on previous interactions. And another thing that is very, very exciting for us from a Sugar and IBM point of view is an integration that Sugar has with a part of IBM ExperienceOne called TLeaf. Let's say Daniel had some issue on the website. Maybe he was trying to fill out a form on the website and had an issue and wasn't able to complete that. Well, in that case, Daniel calls the call center. Regina gets the screen pop just like we described earlier. But one of the things Regina can do from within her Sugar screen, again without having to go to a different system, she can invoke a TLeaf replay session. So one of the things that TLeaf does is it actually captures the web history and plays it, allows it to be played back in almost like a movie. So Regina in this scenario would be able to say, okay Daniel, I'm sorry you had trouble on the website. Let me replay the last 15 seconds of your web interaction, and she can actually see exactly what the problem is. So again, that takes the powerful capability of IBM TLeaf and provides it in context for Regina in an easy to use way that she can invoke right from within her Sugar window. So to summarize, we showed an example of how IBM ExperienceOne using TLeaf, using Silverpop, using IBM Unica Campaign, together with Sugar, deliver a consistent and optimized customer experience across marketing, sales, and service. So Anna in marketing was able to use all of the powerful capabilities of ExperienceOne, but then when Chris Oliver, the sales rep, had to step in, Chris was not disconnected from all of the great work that Anna had already done. Chris was able to take advantage of all that work and build on it. And similarly, Regina in the service center was able to take advantage of all of the previous interactions as well. And Daniel got a consistent experience regardless of whether he engaged with Globex skiers through digital channels like on the website or through human channels like talking to Chris and Regina. So that's a great example of how ExperienceOne and Sugar work together in a B2B manufacturing scenario. And that concludes our quick demo today. For more information, please see sugarcrm.com/IBM or follow @SugarIBM. Thanks again.